Honorable guests, welcome to the World City Summit Mayors Lunch. Please take a seat before the program starts. Thank you. I am your host, Dinesh, from the Center for Livable Cities. We have an exciting agenda lined up today, starting with the mayoral lunch. During this event, we would like to remind audience members to kindly keep your mask on until the lunch service commences. Please set your phones and beeping devices to silent mode. Without further ado, please join me to welcome the host for the mayoral lunch, Ms. Indrani Raja, Minister at the Prime Minister's Office, Second Minister for Finance and National Development on stage to deliver the welcome address. Minister, please.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, and a warm welcome to the World Cities Summit and to Singapore. It's been quite a while since we were able to convene in person at the Mayors Forum of the World Cities Summit, since 2019 to be precise. We are therefore delighted that so many mayors and city leaders from around the world have been able to travel and join us once again for this event. We look forward to reconnecting with old friends and meeting new ones, and once again, welcome. As countries and our cities emerge from the pandemic, one imperative has become clear: the need to build more livable and sustainable cities. The last 2.5 years have put a spotlight on humanity's connectedness and commonalities, and hence, collaboration and the sharing of knowledge, experience, and lessons learned must be part of our approach to reshaping the cities of tomorrow, especially in the extraordinary times that we live in today. Opportunities like this, where we can gather in the same place, exchange thoughts and ideas, and forge partnerships, are intrinsically valuable, and we hope to make full use of the time that we have together to continue to strengthen the ties between our cities and with each other. Thank you all once again for being part of WCS and the Mayors Forum. I would also like to extend special thanks to Vice Governor Nyon Prat of Phnom Penh, Mayor Sadeh Shireen Fawanas of Windhoek, Councillor Oyhane Agriculture of Bilbao, and Mayor Fahad Al-Buliheshi of Medina, who will be participating in the sharing session later during today's lunch. So I look forward to meeting you throughout the course of this event, and I will let our co-moderators, Professor Greg Clark and Deputy Secretary Aaron Maniam, take over from here. So wishing everyone an enjoyable lunch and a productive time at the summit. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce our co-moderators for today. We have Professor Greg Clark, Global Advisor on Cities, Transport and Innovation. We also have Mr. Aaron Maniam, Deputy Secretary, Ministry for Communications and Information. I'll now hand over the time to them. Thank you.
Go on. Thank you so much, Dinesh, and thank you so much to the Center of Livable Cities for organizing today. My name is Aaron Maniam. I'm the Deputy Secretary of our Ministry of Communications and Information here in Singapore. You may be wondering, why is the Deputy Secretary of Ministry of Communications and Information involved in a session on cities? And the reality really is that all policy in Singapore is city policy. At least that is my deep belief, because we are a city, a state, and an island all at the same time. And so urban policy, the ways in which we govern the city spaces that we have, are of deep interest to all of the policymakers in our system. I work a lot on technology policy, and so I'm particularly keen to hear your wisdom in terms of the digitalization and tech session that we'll be discussing later this afternoon. So that's my quick introduction. Greg?
Very nice to meet you, everyone, and wonderful to be working with you, Aaron. We're going to be your hosts for much of the afternoon. This is my 10th time moderating the Mayors Forum at the World City Summit. Such an honor to be working again with Singapore, with the Centre for Livable Cities, and with all of their partners. My interests are wide and varied. I've visited and studied 300 cities around the world. I'm especially interested in the leadership of cities and why this leadership of place has become such an important feature of 21st century life. And today, there's nothing better for me than to have the chance to listen to people who are real leaders of real cities, making a real difference to the lives of the people in the places where they live. So for me, this is very exciting. Aaron.
Great. So to start us off this afternoon, just before we get to lunch, we thought we'd get all our brain juices flowing and also start hearing from all of you, right? And the deep wisdom and insights that you have from the work that you do in different cities. And we've identified 4 mayors who will start off with some mayoral sharings for lunch today. I guess the idea here is that we feed our minds before we feed the bodies, you know? And we're going to begin, sorry?
As you can see, sometimes we get instructions right in the middle of what we're doing. And
we're doing everything in real time
that.
here, right? So we will have four sharings shortly, as Minister Indrani mentioned. And just before we get to that, I thought I'd mention something that Greg and I have discussed a lot. We have a huge amount of content to cover today. We want to make sure that as many of you are heard and that your voices are featured in all of these discussions. And in order to do that, we will all have to stick to time. Part of Greg and my role will be to make sure that we manage time both rigorously as well as lightly, right, in the rest of the program. And one thing that will help us to do that is this trusty bell that we have. So for those of you who are speaking, especially in these mayoral sharings, which will be about 5 minutes or so, as your time is about to end, you'll hear a quick time signal like this. And that's really my gentle way of saying you will need to start wrapping up at that point, just so that we make sure that we have time for everyone else to be heard as well. Okay, so you'll hear that periodically throughout this afternoon. It's meant, like I said, to be a gentle reminder, and I'm sure if we all take heed of it, we'll get to the end of the program in quite a nice way. So we'll begin this mayoral sharing.
Great. So
with Greg's introduction.
Our first guest this afternoon, sharing her experiences from the amazing city of Windhoek, the capital of Namibia in southwestern Africa, will be the mayor, Shade Shireen Gawanas. Please welcome the mayor to the stage. Madam Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all honourable mayors from all different from the different parts of the world, all officials and delegates. Apologies, I'm a little nervous. If I may start, please. The city of Windhoek is located in an area that is inherently dry and prone to climate-related disruptions, such as drought, because Namibia is a semi-arid country with the lowest average rainfall in the southern region. Windhoek is one of the cities that will be most affected by climate change due to its aridity and socio-economic conditions. All projections indicate that Windhoek will be much drier and warmer. This will result in many climate-related impacts. Over the years, we have adapted strategies to ensure that our residents are not significantly affected by climate-related impacts. Such strategies include, but are not limited to, the Windhoek Integrated Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan, water demand management strategies, water reclamation programs, artificial recharge of the aquifer, disaster risk management, and also a few projects that we have done with the United UNDP for urban agriculture to empower the informal sector to grow their own sustainable food and security to generate livelihoods. Also, again, with the UNDP, we have digital platforms such as Tambula, where we leverage to elevate the suffering of informal vendors during COVID. Through this platform, street vendors continue to receive income while consumers benefited from delivery of fresh fruits and vegetables at their doorsteps. How can mayors also take a step towards decarbonization?
It is predicted that 70% of the Earth's residents will live in cities by the year 2050. The city of Windhoek has heeded the global call to promote renewable energy sources by approving its renewable energy policy in 2017. This policy provides guidance to the Council on how to develop renewable energy and to upscale the contribution of power from renewable resources. Furthermore, it is worth noting that transport accounts for 26% of global carbon emissions. We want to decarbonize faster, and it is important for us as mayors and leaders to ensure that the transportation sector in our respective cities should reduce their emissions. The majority of Windhoek's expansion occurred post-independence in 1990. Since then, Windhoek's population has more than doubled from 147,000 to 400,000 today. However, the mobility needs of the majority of Windhoek inhabitants, most of whom fall within the low to ultra-low income house groups, are not adequately addressed. The number of taxis in Windhoek is substantial, with almost 7,000 registered. Today, the number multiplies as importing of cheap second-hand vehicles from countries where these vehicles no longer meet the environmental standards continues unabated. As this is the case worldwide, non-motorized transport plays an important role in reducing carbon dioxide emissions and greening the economy in the context of providing and promoting more sustainable transport options. The city of Windhoek acknowledges the need for a new planning approach that provides sustainable, green, and faster non-motorized transport options for all its citizens, especially low-income earners, children, and the elderly. As a result, the Municipal Council for Windhoek approved an NMT strategy inclusive of design guidelines for Windhoek in 2019, forming a fundamental part of the implementation of the SUTMP since 2012. The 20-year plan that identifies the types of investments in infrastructure and services required to improve the public transport services and non-motorized transport within Windhoek. We're also looking at building a green city through sustainable investments. To build green cities, we need to be intentional in the types of investments that we attract to our cities. In the case of Windhoek, any investment that is water intensive and that is environmentally unattainable should be discouraged. The city of Windhoek, through its draft integrated climate change strategy and plan, has identified various areas of potential investment that will contribute to making Windhoek a green and livable city for the future. The following are the focal areas that we have focused on: water security and efficiency, biodiversity and ecosystems, human settlements and healthy conditions, disaster preparedness, sustainable energy, and low-carbon development, waste minimization and management, and sustainable transport. Cities should therefore be encouraged to identify and further develop investments, packages that will promote environmental sustainability and contribute to developmental objectives. In terms of digitalization, is one of the several mega trends, including globalization, demographic change, and climate change, that are reshaping policies from the ground up. For 2 decades, digital innovation has been at the heart of discourse around the smart cities to build more efficient and livable urban environments. The city of Windhoek wants to improve the efficiency and effectiveness in terms of service delivery via the use of technology. Digitalization and interconnection of the city systems will allow the citizens to be more informed and engaged with the city. The level of knowledge will increase, positive conditions for becoming a learning city, a powerful decision support system that will allow the city council to make more realistic and data-driven decisions. One thing is clear: as cities, we cannot work in isolation to build cities of the future. National and local governments must communicate together to enable the rapid diffusion of new technologies. schools of thought defining smart cities and engaging at national and local policy level to enable appropriate, society-centric responses to the core, to align the 4th industrial revolution, but also deliver meaningful and sustainable benefits to our city. I thank you.
Madam Mayor, thank you very much indeed. And you've begun with so many themes that will be discussed today. The link between local and national and the need for alignment, the desire for cities to be proactive in seeking investments, and of course the integration of the digital with the climate policies and how to make those work, and especially, as you emphasized, for low-income families, that making a transition that's just and fair for everyone. Aaron, will you introduce our next guest?
I will. Thanks very mumuch, Greg, and thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Our next guest brings us a bit closer to the region that we're in now, in Southeast Asia. We're very, very pleased to have the Vice Governor of Phnom Penh Municipality, Nuon Parat, who will share with us some of the experiences that are happening in his city, and I welcome him now to the stage.
Your Excellency Minister, my dear colleague, mayors, governors, and city representatives, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, on behalf of Phnom Penh, capital city of Cambodia, I am delighted to join you all here in this important session during the World City Summit Mayors Forum 2022. I and my delegation really appreciate and thank the organizing team and those involved for making this crucial event happen physically this year. This year seems livable and sustainable city emerging stronger, and the 2 sessions on the digitalization and the decarbonization strategies are very important and relevant. In particularly in this moment that a lot of cities are facing challenges caused by the pandemic COVID-19, as well as the impact of the climate change. For Cambodia, with the national deployment and vaccination plan under the leadership of our Prime Minister Hun Sen, Cambodian people, we have been fully protected by the vaccine, and many of them have already received their 5th dose. This has permitted the country to be fully reopened since November last year. While trying our best to recover, our Phnom Penh capital faced a lot of challenges ranging from social to economic issues. The challenge become more complex once we have to deal with the consequence of the war in Ukraine, such as the rising of inflation. With what we have been going through, I believe that Phnom Penh city, as well as the other cities, we become poorer but stronger, because the pandemic COVID-19 and other challenges remind us on how we should pay more attention and how the city should better prepare for future shock and for their recovery to be more sustainable and resilient. In this context, the technological advancement led by digitalization and the different impacts from the climate change would be seen not only the challenge but also as opportunity for our cities. For Cambodia, digitalization has been seen as a stimulator for country toward stronger growth. Cambodian government has adopted the Cambodia Digital Economy and Society Policy Framework, where smart city is one of the core elements. At city level, Phnom Penh adopted recently our smart and sustainable city strategic roadmap. Both government and city have identified the importance and the necessity in transforming our country and city into a new development model during this digital transformation age. which would serve as an effective mechanism to promote sustainable and inclusive economic development and growth. Regarding the climate change, it is also defined as one of the big challenges for Phnom Penh growth and could be a future shock for our residents maybe tomorrow in the future. Tomorrow, I would be given an opportunity to share about the challenge regarding the sustainable financing of city with the same moderator, and so to share the challenge that we are facing and also to learn from the best practice and experience as well. Once again, I really appreciate the importance of our gathering here today, this moment in Singapore, a very beautiful country. It would not only be the occasion for the city to raise their challenges, but for both big and small cities to learn about each other best practice, which has been successfully implemented in every part of the world. We are all here with the same one objective, which is to emerge together, greater, stronger, sustained, and resilient. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Excellency, Mr. Vice Governor, for that very insightful sharing. You know, we live in a world where we're being torn apart in so many ways by forces of conflict, forces like the pandemic. And I think your reminder that cities are wonderful units for development and catalysts for larger scale development that creates public value for our people is a really timely one. And I hope it's a theme we'll be able to explore in the rest of this afternoon. Greg, can you introduce our final sharing for our Mayoral Forum here?
Delighted to do that, Aaron. And we're moving from Namibia to Cambodia to the Basque Country in the north of Spain, where one of our Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize laureate cities, the city of Bilbao, is. And it's a great pleasure to welcome Councillor Oihani Aguirregoitia, who's going to talk to us on behalf of the city of Bilbao. Please welcome the councillor.
Thank you very much. My name is Oihani Aguirregoitia, and I'm City Councillor for the Department of Public Services, Civic Engagement and Internationalization at the Bilbao City Council. First, convey our deepest gratitude for the invitation to participate in the World City Summit Mayors Forum with the aim of sharing our experience about how Bilbao has emerged stronger from prolonged disruptions. Cities are in constant change, evolution, and transformation. Bilbao is a clear example of disruptive urban, economic, and social reconversion. The city was reborn in every sense, ceasing to be a Greek city dedicated to industry and becoming a cosmopolitan and design city. Just as society and the economy had advanced and demanded a new city model, for more than 10 years, we have found ourselves in a transcendent urban turn with the digital society, permitting a new type of needs. Technology has become part of our daily lives over the last decades and will continue to become part of the future, partly because of its wide applicability in different fields and its increasing accessibility. In this context, technologies offer enormous opportunities for the transformation of the most innovative and sustainable cities. Having smart and wise resources and tools in place has enabled Bilbao to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic more effectively and efficiently. The range of new digital tools and the use of several of them will continue after the post-pandemic recovery. The use of these technologies has enabled a better management of the urban environment, a more efficient use of resources, and a more effective city governance to improve the quality of life of its inhabitants and revitalize the city as a center of services. In this sense, the Bilbao City Council is fully immersed in the digital transformation and modernization of the territory and with the view to 2030. Bilbao wants to consolidate itself as a smart and wise city and sustainable city, which focuses on the needs of all people and on improving their quality of life without excluding anyone. A city that provides advanced services for a citizenship that is both receptive and co-creative, demanding and participative. A city of values and attractiveness where to live, work and create is smart and is sustainable. To this end, Bilbao has launched several initiatives. For instance, the Bilbao City Council has created a virtual map to identify all the key elements for the management of the pandemic. This exemplifies Bilbao's commitment to a data government, for which it continues to work on the implementation of a platform for the governance and management of municipal data open to the administration, citizens and companies. Therefore, and as a continuation of the virtual map tool, the city has prepared the Bilbao Data Manifesto, the framework of action that regulates the management of citizens' data. The aim of the Data Manifesto is to establish an ethical framework associated with the values of Bilbao, as set out in the Charter of Values of the city, and to formulate guiding principles for data management that will guide the City Council in the practice of governance while facilitating innovation and improvement of municipal services, directly influencing the enhancement of the quality of life of citizens, a people-centric and sustainable city. In parallel, Bilbao is working on digital infrastructures by improving the efficiency and sustainability of the data processing center systems and providing mobility technologies and high productivity collaborative tools for the city. Bilbao seeks to consolidate itself as knowledge node by providing strategic infrastructures to this purpose. Just another example, public administrations of the Basque Country have come together to promote an open innovation center, the B Accelerator Tower, which we want to be one of the world's best connected entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem. In short, the process of digital transformation of the cities is a fundamental tool for acquiring resilience in the face of future cities. These digitalization processes must consider all citizens, preventing the digital transformation of public policies from making them inaccessible to those in vulnerable situations. In addition to projects, Bilbao's presence in networks and forums facilitates the city's opening to the international arena and generates global opportunities for local development, knowledge sharing, and city networking. Over the years, Bilbao has participated in the World City Summit Mayors Forums and has given our city a prominent position in the most important international city networks. Thank you very much for your kind attention. My pleasure.
Councillor, thank you very much indeed for sharing this story. And the story of the transformation of Bilbao is always an inspiration. But today you've reminded us that Bilbao, of course, is a forward-looking city, a city that's adopted long-term planning before many other cities in Europe. And in particular today, you've talked about how digitization has been a tool not just to manage the pandemic, but to improve the city looking forward. And in particular, your focus on the virtual map of Bilbao and how you've used data to create a new way of navigating the post-pandemic city. And your manifesto for data uses suggests to us that citizens of Bilbao are becoming smart citizens. You're not just building a smart city. So fascinating. Thank you very much indeed. Great to hear from you and welcome again. Aaron, shall we just introduce the lunch? Would you like to do that? Or? Okay, over to me. Ladies and gentlemen, lunch is served. Thank you.